So for those of you who saw Oddity, did you know that there was a prequel called How Olin Lost His Eye? Yeah, this is a 6-minute short that Damian McCarthy made all the way back in 2013. And it tells the story of how Olin from Oddity, as a child, lost his eye.
Yep.
We watched this, and we watched every other short Damian McCarthy ever made.
We did.
So that we could talk about it here. You can go look for his shorts on YouTube. Almost all of them are on his channel. So if you can find his channel, you will find everything but one of his shorts, which is the other short is Jeremy Dyson's Haunted Recordings, which you'll have to search for manually on YouTube because it's on a different site, like on a different channel. But we're here to talk about the prequel, How Olin Lost His Eye, as well as our thoughts on his shorts and which ones we like and recommend. I think you should watch all of them just for fun, but yeah. I can definitely tell you which ones, if you're like, I just want to watch the good ones, which ones we thought were better than the other ones. So as far as, I guess we'll start with what we think you should watch, because we are going to talk spoilers. So you should probably watch them before.
Yes.
But definitely watch this one, How Olin Lost His Eye. This is the one you're here for. This is why you clicked on the video, is to see what this whole, prequel is all about. You probably thought this was a film. We tricked you. Ha 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 ha. But so definitely watch that one.
Yeah.
I would also watch probably my favorite of them for sure is Hungry Hickory.
Yeah.
This one was very cool.
It was really, really cool.
Hatch is a very bizarre one.
Yeah.
With a pretty funny ending. Never Ever Open It was fine. Mm-hmm. So Damian has a very specific style. And I feel like all of his shorts are all about his style.
Totally. Yeah.
He likes to build atmosphere, which he's excellent at. And this is something that makes me want to go and rewatch Caveat very badly now. Mm-hmm. Because his style up until Oddity, which the style is still on display in Oddity, 100%. But there's just so much more going on in Oddity. He actually has a real story, a pretty complex story. As to where in Caveat, that was way more bare bones, just dread-inducing type of filmmaking, which I typically am fine with. I would prefer a story for the most part, but it doesn't always have to have it. Possum is my go-to, where it's you don't have to have a story. You can just be as creepy as you want to be. But I just found his style to be very obviously on display here. When you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, I see where this, this all came from, right? Yeah. What did you think of these shorts?
Yeah, definitely there is a very specific style. We were kind of comparing him to Mike Flanagan a little bit, because there's something that he likes to do visually with eyes that is a common thing. And I think it's cool. I really like a lot of these are in black and white, and I think that definitely adds to the grittiness and the atmosphere.
And no dialogue.
And there's no dialogue
outside of one. Yeah. His short film called The Roommate, I think. Is the only one with dialogue.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think that Hungry Hickory is probably my favorite one. It's definitely got a really cool concept and very creepy and very unsettling. I like how Olin lost his eye. I think that this one, as a prequel to Oddity, it's a cool little snapshot into Olin as a character. And you had said too that there's kind of this childhood fear type of vibe that's woven into a lot of these shorts, which I really like. I think that when horror kind of simplifies the scares to something that would have scared you as a kid, or these like underlying fears that everybody has, whether it's like fear of the dark or, you know, fear of something that's under your bed or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that those can be really effective. And, you know, yeah. Honestly, I feel all of these are really good. I would say the only one that is maybe one I didn't like that much is the short from when he was like a film student. I think it's funny.
The Roommate?
Yeah, I think it's funny, but I prefer the other ones because, I don't know, I just prefer the others. But, you know, I mean, come on, film student films, like, they're going to be a little bit more like amateur and everything. But sure. I do think it's a really funny one.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We also didn't mention he dies at the end.
Yeah. That one was really good too, actually. I liked that one a lot.
There's one here that he wrote that's 35 minutes long.
Oh.
Called The Lonely Stag, directed by John Burns. I don't know anything about this one. We did not see this one, so I have no thoughts on it. I don't know. It says drama history music, so it's not even horror anyway. So it wouldn't even have worked and fit the channel. So we did not watch that. Yeah, I think that... So one thing I definitely feel here is that every single one of these feels like it's set in the same universe.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
Caveat, Oddity, and then all of these shorts, absolutely, I feel like he's building his own, you know, world.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's really cool, and I love when filmmakers do that.
Yeah.
I think it's like...
It's very Stephen King-esque.
Very Stephen King, very like James Wan kind of, and yeah.
Yeah.
I'm super into it.
Yeah. So getting into, I mean, there's not going to be a ton to talk about with these.
No, we'll just talk about
they're super
what
short.
we like from each one.
But with how Olin lost his eye, so spoilers. So this actually, in this kid looks through a hole in a abandoned house or whatever, and he sees something under like a shroud or something, and the hand is out like asking for money, or that's how he perceives it. For something, yeah, yes. It's just like, give me something. It's his eye. That's what he wants. Why, I don't know, because it has two bulging eyes. Maybe like those are eyes that it's taken before, and it's like gonna pluck that one out and put a new one in, because they don't seem like they've been fully put in. Like, I didn't even think of that until right now.
Oh, really? That's funny. I thought of that, like...
Instantly?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I thought the eyes were just bulging, but now I'm thinking about it, and it's like, oh no, those, like, it didn't have eyes. Yeah. And it steals people's eyes and just pushes it into its
totally
sockets, and there's just bulging now because they're not fully in there. And maybe, like, as they start to rot...
He needs a new one.
That would have been cool if one of them was, like, rotting. You know? One looked new, and the other one looked, like, old and rotting, and that's why. And then we see him, like, take that one out and go to put the other one in. That would have been a very like a cooler ending. But there's this joke that I heard when I was a kid, and there, you know, I had maybe like 5 or 6 jokes I heard as a kid that I always remembered, and I told many, many times. I'm not going to say the whole joke because it's not worth the setup. Being so long. But essentially, these guys are walking past a fence. There's a hole in the fence. They hear people on the other side who are supposedly in a mental institution saying 12, 12, 12. And one eventually coaxes the other one to look through the hole. And when he does, someone pokes him in the eye. And then they start chanting 13, 13, 13.
Oh, okay.
So that reminded me of that joke when I was a kid growing up.
That's a bad joke. It's like not funny at all.
What?
Why is that funny?
Because they're coaxing people to like look through the hole, and then they poke them.
That's like horror.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know. It sounds a lot like what happens here. I do think that the bulging eyes is something that some people will find silly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
For me, it works really well. I think is it called something with an S, like fear of like eyes and like being looked at. I don't have that full on, but I definitely have an element of it for sure. And I find that eyes can be really freaky, especially when they're distorted in some way. So in this case, because they're overlarged and enlarged and like freaky looking, I find that definitely adds an element of scariness for me. But I think a lot of these have this too, like we were saying, like the building of atmosphere and everything, but it's also this building of tension. Like there's the repetitive, like when the kid's looking, when Olin's looking through, and the hand's still there, and so he drop a coin, and like it just kind of repeats a few times, and like you just keep knowing that something, especially because the title is literally how Olin lost his eye.
Yeah.
So you are just like, he's gonna lose his eye, he's gonna lose his eye.
Yeah.
And but it works really well. Like it definitely amps things up, and there's a few of these segments that have the same thing where there's repetitive, behaviors or whatever that are leading up to something bad, and there's a hopelessness as the viewer watching, because it's like you can't stop it. Like you're just watching because it will end badly.
Yeah, this director is great with horror composition. The way that he frames his shots, the cinematography used to feel this sense of dread, the way he lingers on shots. You can see talent all over these shorts, and you can tell that he is going to be very good for horror films in the future. Whether or not you can stretch that into a feature length, you got to add more to it, and I think that was our problem with Caveat, is like there just wasn't enough to keep us interested for that long. But I am very excited to go and revisit it and hopefully be wrong and be like, what were we thinking? We had already stated, though, that we watched it in not ideal conditions, so that could have affected our viewing. Shout out to Robbie Sobel for bringing this to my attention, posting it on Facebook and being like, this short exists.
Yeah.
So thank you to him for that. And also the character that's in here is also in Hungry Hickory.
Yes, yeah.
We get the bulging eye guy in that as well. So those are definitely connected and something he reused. The Hungry Hickory episode reminded me a lot of Lights Out, with a different gimmick. In Lights Out, it's the shadow, and then the light comes on, the shadow's not there, light off, shadow's gone, back and forth. With this, her feet are sticking out from the covers, which is like a fear of some people's.
Yes.
Some hand's gonna come over and grab their foot or whatever.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah.
But there's this like cabinet or something at the foot of the bed.
It's like a little mini closet or something.
Sure. So like this little closet is there, and as she keeps moving positions in the bed, it keeps moving on the wall to match her position on the bed. So it's like following her around the room, and then eventually is behind her, and the guy with the eyes comes out and grabs her.
Which is great.
A fantastic short.
All of that. Yeah, super cool. I thought that there's, she finds like a tape recorder or some old... It's not a tape recorder, but it's some old thing that plays sound. And she's she's listening to like a song that's like this old timey song that was really creepy. And then there's some like some voice that's speaking on the tape that's also very creepy. And just the way that the room looks is very scary and like empty. And I feel like her reactions were also really scary. This is definitely the kind of short that is kind of purely aesthetic, because we were joking about like you wouldn't stay in the room, you would leave, like if but that's beside the point. It's all about, it's like a very vibes type of short. And her reaction when she's like opening her eyes really wide and staring, I thought that was really creepy. And just the concept of it moving is great. Scary. You
can never take these things seriously. Like, these are supposed to be playing on your childhood fears, and that is what we're rolling with the whole time. Like, is the kid going to continue to throw coins through the hole and continue to keep peeking in endlessly? Is this woman gonna see her closet at the end of her bed moving around the room and just shift positions in bed endlessly? No, of course not. That's ridiculous. If you saw that one time, you'd be up out of the room calling people, checking into a mental institution, something.
But these just showcase the atmosphere, the concepts, all the horror aspects, aside from like a very like a full-on script or plot.
But yeah, you can do this for 5 minutes.
Yeah, totally.
You can't do this for 90. Right? So the audience will follow you on these shorts.
Yes.
Where people are making decisions that are like nightmarish.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you know, in a nightmare, you don't react the right way. And things don't work logically.
Yeah.
Right? And that works. You can make it work for longer. But man, it's got to be really, really engaging. It's got to be it's got to have such a variety to it. Also, speaking of, he loves to incorporate his obsession with creepy dolls.
Yeah.
So we get like a nod to the precursor to the bunny from Caveat. Mm-hmm. We get the little drummer.
The monkey drummer. The monkey's, it's a
symbol. And then the bunny does
the drummer.
The drums.
Yeah.
He puts these in every one of his films. And that's another part of the connective tissue in this universe.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like creepy dolls especially. So
we also have Hatch, which is a guy who farts out an egg while in the tub and then takes it to the bar with him.
Yeah.
And the thing starts to hatch and stick out little tendrils that like attach to his beer, and then when it's gonna finally fully hatch, the bartender comes and flips over the bar door. I forget what that thing's called. Thing that lets them go behind the bar. Yeah, it completely smashes down and it crushes the egg before we get to see what it is, which is a comedic ending. It's supposed to be funny, and it is. It cuts all the tension. It adds like this funny, aspect to it, and then we cut to the credits. And same thing with the roommate. That's like something that builds up and then ends funny with them like in bed together as zombies, and like not together but like in separate beds close to each other, and they're like there's like a heart on the screen, like they're bosom buddies now that they're both undead. Yeah,
I think that Hatch is the evolution of the horror comedy of The Roommate.
Yeah.
Like Hatch has it's very absurdist, but it also does the same thing that these other shorts do with like building tension and suspense, because of the egg kind of, something cracks a little hole in it. Tendrils are coming out, and it's all very bizarre and creepy, and the actors' reactions to things are, as you'd said, very nightmarish and weird. And then, the ending, of course, as you said, makes it very funny. So I do think that I would be interested in, like, a horror comedy movie from him.
He inserts horror. He inserts comedy into his horror.
Yeah.
Already. I find that there is some funny stuff. Mm-hmm. We also have Hands, which is just kind of a replay of how Olin lost his eye, but this time it's a woman sticking her hand through a hole instead of looking through a hole, and then an arm comes up and grabs her arm. It's atmospheric.
Simple,
it's got great atmosphere to it. As he's got great shots. He's got good sound that accompanies that, the eeriness, like in how Olin lost his eye. There's a lot of like flashes of establishing shots around the house, which builds a creepy atmosphere to it. It's reminiscent of the end of Halloween, when we get little quick snippets, little snapshots of all of the locations that Michael was in or could be in, and you hear his breathing like he could be anywhere. He's still out there. That's really great, but in the end it's extremely simplistic, to say the least. So I ended up kind of being very ho-hum on it. I feel like you could absolutely just watch how Olin lost his eye and get the both. As far as Never Ever Open It, this is another one that was fine. This guy finds like a door behind some books. He opens it, and there's this like crate inside, very reminiscent of the Creepshow segment, The Crate. Hence my Creepshow 2, the raft shirt I'm wearing right now. But that had flavor of that to a degree. And then it just keeps kind of giving a ticking clock.
Yeah.
Which I like the countdown aspect of like, you know he's gonna open it, and I like that Damian has the knowledge of his audience that's like, you know why we're here. You know he's gonna open the goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like when the movie's called Never Ever Open It and they find something that they're not supposed to open.
Yeah, you're like, they're gonna open
it. They're gonna open
it.
it. So it's like trying to pretend for a second they're not is just silly and
yeah, I think that there's two different approaches to like how horror can play out. I mean, there's multiple, but like either you know there's an outcome that we're working towards that is horrific, or the horror is like revealed and it's very mysterious and you don't know what the outcome will be. And that's both of those can be very effective, and he definitely goes more for the audience has knowledge that the characters do not.
Right.
Yeah, I like it. I really liked he dies at the end. I think that one had a lot of tension in it. I really liked using the computer. You know, this guy is like in an office working by himself, and he gets like a pop-up, I guess, on his computer saying, do you want to know how you will die?
Very countdown.
Yeah, and he clicks yes, and it's asking him all these kind of vague questions like, are you alone? Would you be scared if somebody was behind you? Or like, do you know who's behind you? That one was great.
Yeah.
So I think that was really cool. And then in the end, it's like, do you want to know how you'll die? And it's fright. And then he turns and there's this like, what did you call it? It was like a meatball looking little monster.
That was that was hilariously goofy.
Great. Yeah.
That was so silly.
I love that little creature.
That looked like something out of the TV show within Channel Zero Candle Cove.
Oh, yeah, kind of, yeah.
It looked like one of the creatures from... What's the show in Candle Cove? Isn't it Candle Cove, right? Okay, that's the name of the show. That's what I thought. Okay. But yeah, it definitely... It reminded me of something like that, like a puppet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely felt like a puppet. It is a puppet. I think there's a puppeteer that's credited in the end.
Yeah.
I love it. I love those kinds of things.
It's a fucking meatball.
It looks very silly to an extent.
Tim Burton type teeth.
Yeah. But
it's super silly.
I thought it was great, though.
Super silly.
I thought it was great. I like the little noise it makes, and yeah.
Yeah. I think that's his first. Because that's the oldest one on his channel.
Oh, okay.
I think it's super silly, but you know, it's fun. I think the setup to everything is great.
Yeah.
With the questions, I think the questions are increasingly creepy.
Yes.
When it gets very specific, like
Have you ever been fishing? Have you ever caught a fish?
The like plant on his desk.
Yeah. Do you know if that it's not real or?
Something
like that, yeah.
It's very specific about his surroundings.
Yeah.
And this is another one where it's like, he would have shut off his computer.
Yeah.
He would have, like, gotten way more suspicious. You got to just roll with the nightmare.
And also the door hallway that's behind him, and just, like, how awful it would feel to be working late at night, like you're literally like looking behind you, like that's creepy. It's a very simple creepiness, but again, with the like childhood fears or like maybe even irrational fears is a better thing, or it's like a mix. But having your back exposed to something is creepy. Yeah, and it's very well done.
And lastly, we have Jeremy Dyson's Haunted Recordings. This is the one you have to look for on a different channel. This is a guy who's recording a haunted library. We see clips of like books closing on their own, books pushing themselves back into the bookshelves. One book finally falls off at the end, and then he like goes to pick it up, and there's like, I don't know, a fucking crazy haunted like ghost librarian that like grabs his arm or something.
That does kind of also look like Hungry Hickory. It has the bulging eyes as well.
Did it have bulging eyes?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. This one's fine. There's a good atmosphere. I mean, there's nothing he doesn't do that doesn't have good atmosphere.
Yeah.
Maybe the roommate. The roommate doesn't have atmosphere, really. But all the rest of them have a very, very similar atmosphere, and they all feel like Caveat in that way. So that's what makes me want to watch Caveat so much.
The library is a great location. I think that's creepy.
our biggest complaint with Caveat was there wasn't enough reason for him to stick around, which is kind of funny because it's what we're talking about. Like, it works for 5 minutes, but can it work for an hour plus? And it's like, for us, first time, no. Yeah. We were like, he's agreeing to be chained to the middle of a room that he can, like, walk around the house, but he can't leave because he's chained there.
We're going to rewatch it at some point and see how we feel.
I hope I love it. I want to love it because I really enjoy this guy's work now.
Yeah.
And we know we're going to talk about Oddity next. But, yeah. So, anything more on this?
I think that's everything.
Yeah. So... we're gonna talk a little bit more about how Olin lost his eye in our Oddity discussion, because I think it may shed a little light on his character in the movie. So come on over there if you have not watched that yet, where we're gonna discuss all the spoilers of Oddity. Yeah. All right. So hope to see you guys there. Adios.
Bye.